In this video, we're going to use Scratch as a tool to create an animation to tell a story. So this animation will allow us to use Scratch as a medium basically to tell whatever kind of story we want. And we'll tell a story about maybe our mathematical journey or perhaps one of the other sort of expectations that involve storytelling. So we'll just go through the process to show some of the tools. So first off, I'm going to get rid of this cat. So I'll click on the sprites down here, click on the little X in the corner. We'll add a different one. So just click on the cat. And you can scroll through here. I'm just going to grab Avery walking. And I'll stick Avery sort of up near the top here. Maybe that's a bit big, so I'll just change the size to 75. And we'll choose a backdrop. So in this stage block here on the right, click on the blue button at the bottom. And let's choose this beach Malibu. So you can see that we have a nice looking backdrop now. We'll add another sprite as well that Avery can interact with. So click on the plus sign at the bottom for the sprites. And I'll choose this character Devin. So we'll put Devin down here. Again, Devin's probably a bit big. You can play around with the sizes, but hopefully this gives us a decent place to start. All right, and notice a couple things. I'm going to code Avery first. So if I'm going to code Avery, I'm going to make sure that I click on Avery, make sure that Avery is selected. So if under events I choose when the green flag is clicked and I want Avery to walk, I can do that here. But notice here that once I click on Devin down here in the sprites, the code is gone. It's not actually gone, it's just that the code for Devin doesn't exist yet because we haven't created it. If I want to see the code that I started, click back on Avery, and there it is. So when the green flag is clicked, I'll zoom in a bit more so you can see that better. So when the green flag is clicked, let's get Avery to walk towards Devin. And instead of walking, we'll actually glide there. So what we'll do is we'll click on motion. You can see the coordinates of Avery here. And really, I want Avery to end up somewhere over here, say. And notice that the X and Y coordinates changed, but also these motion blocks that have the X and Y coordinates have updated. So I'm going to choose this glide 1 second to this location over here. So that means that Avery is going to move from wherever the starting position was to this position. Now, perhaps at the very beginning of the program, I want to make sure that Avery starts at the very top. So why don't I do that? I'll move Avery maybe somewhere here. So get Avery to go to that position right from the beginning and then glide to this location. And the time here basically determines how long it's going to take Avery to get there. So if we say 1 second, it'll take not very much time. And if we say 2 seconds, it will take more time. So it looks kind of like this. Now we'll talk in a little bit about how we can actually change the costume. So Avery has a number of costumes. You can see those at the tab here at the top. Avery has a number of costumes to make it look like there is some walking happening. So we can certainly do that, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. So for right now, Avery's going to talk to Devin. Let's get Avery to say something. We'll just keep it really simple for now. And we'll just get Avery to say hello for 2 seconds. Once Avery is done speaking, we need to let Devin know that it's Devin's turn to speak. So what we can do is under the events, we can choose this broadcast a message 1. I'm going to give this message a name. We'll call it Avery hi. So this is Avery saying hi. We could probably leave it as message 1. And the idea here is that when we broadcast this message, all of the sprites in our program can receive that message. So if I go to Devin, I can choose this when I receive Avery hi option. So this tells Devin that, or indicates to the program that Devin has received this message, and this is the code that should be executed once that message is received. So maybe Devin says, under looks, says, hi, how are you? So that is one way that those two sprites can kind of interact. And then what we can do is, this conversation can go on for a bit. Let's say that the conversation's over. We'll get Devin to move, and we'll just get Devin to kind of walk from the left to the right, maybe going up a little bit and then back over here. So we'll get Devin to move this direction. So under motion, we can glide for 1 second to this position, and then glide for 1 second to this position over here. All right, so we've got Devin moving out of the way. In fact, at this point, we may even say to Devin, we're done with Devin, let's have Devin glide off the screen. So glide to this position right here. And maybe we want Avery to continue walking off the screen as well, so I'll go back to Avery. Now Avery's not going to know that it's time to move off the screen unless we broadcast a message. So let's go before we switch over. Under Devin, we'll choose events. We'll broadcast. This is a new message. This is Devin saying goodbye. And we can go back to Avery and choose the when I receive. And we'll just change the message here to Devin bye. We'll get Avery to walk off to the right. Kind of this way. So we'll glide to this position. And then what we can do is we can actually change the backdrop. So it's almost like Avery's continuing. This scene is finished, and we're going to go to the next scene. So at this point, why don't we, well, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I was just going to say we could broadcast another message, but it's maybe worth broadcasting a message saying that Devin should kind of disappear at this point. Or we get Devin to broadcast this message, and then we just hide Devin. So under looks, scroll down and choose hide. Now when we run this program, after we run it the first time, Devin will be hidden. We need to tell Devin to show at the very beginning. So we'll get Devin to show at the very beginning. In fact, not here when Avery says hi. We want Devin to show before Avery says hi. So at the very beginning of the program, under events, when the green flag is clicked, we'll get Devin to show. And then Devin hides, and then we come back here to Avery. Avery glides towards the end of the screen. And then what we'll do is we will hide Avery, which means, oops, under looks, we'll hide Avery. I don't know if we want to wait in there. We'll kind of see how it looks. And then what we can do is we can change the backdrop. Just noticing here that we hid Avery at the very beginning of our program, we want to make sure that we also show Avery. So Avery's hidden. We'll change the backdrop. So let's go here. We'll choose a slightly different backdrop. How about this boardwalk? And we will switch the backdrop too. So there's a button here, or a block, pardon me, that says switch backdrop to this beach Malibu. And again, at the very beginning of our program, we want to make sure that our backdrop is the beach. Here we want it to be the boardwalk, pardon me. So what will happen here, once Devin leaves, Avery will glide off towards the edge of the screen, be hidden. We'll switch the backdrop to the boardwalk. We want to move Avery to the left side of the screen, somewhere over here. And we will get under motion, a go to XY. And then once Avery's in position in scene 2, we can actually click on looks and show. Now the only thing I'm thinking here is I'm not sure that we hid Devin. Oh, we did hide Devin. All right, good. All right, let's click on the green flag and see what happens. All right, we forgot to move Devin back into position once the green flag is clicked, but we'll fix that up. And then Avery's there. All right, so let's fix Devin. At the very beginning, we want Devin to be somewhere over here. Let me just click on show Devin somewhere over here at the very beginning. So we'll grab a motion, a go to that position. All right, let's try that one more time. And Devin kind of walks off. Avery walks off, starts here, and then maybe Avery has some other interaction or comment here. I will show how to add just a little bit of animation here as well. So I'm going to add a bird. So under the sprites, there's I think it's called a parrot. Yeah, there it is right there, and it has a couple costumes and that make it look like it's flying. So let's just have that appear here. Size is a bit big. Maybe if we go to 40. And we'll start with the bird up near the top here. And we don't want it to appear all of the time. We only want it to appear once we've moved on to this second scene. So maybe over here is once this information happens here where we've made Avery reappear. Let's do it once Avery glides off the screen. We'll broadcast a message basically saying, let's go to scene 2. So let's write in here under events, broadcast, and I'm going to create a new message saying scene 2. All right, and then we go to the parrot. When the green flag is clicked, we want the parrot to be hidden. It is not in scene 1, so click on looks, go to hide, and then under events, when I receive Avery hi, we'll change that to scene 2. We can show, so under looks, click on show. And then what we'll do is we'll just put it in a loop. So under control, we'll just have it forever going left to right. So we'll get it to move 10 steps. Oops, your motion, move 10 steps. Maybe a little bit of a wait. Doesn't have to be too long. 1 second might be too long, so let's try 0.5 and see what that looks like. Now the bird and many of the other sprites have costumes, so the tabs at the top here indicate their costumes. If we click on costumes, you can see that the bird has this costume and this costume, and if we just flip between them really quickly, it actually looks like the bird is flying. So what we'll do is we'll move for a bit, we'll wait, and then we'll change the costume. So under looks, there's this option here that says next costume. So we'll just sort of cycle through the costumes that it has. So with any luck, the bird on that second scene will be flying back and forth. Now the trouble is that we haven't told it to come back, so it's really just going to fly to the edge of the screen and then get stuck at the edge. So in order to fix that, we might want our bird to go a little bit faster than that. So maybe we want this to be 0.2 or something. Now watch what happens as it hits the edge. It's just kind of stuck there. So one of the ways that we can remedy that is under motion. There is a block that says if on edge bounce. What that will do is it will cause it to hit the edge and bounce back. Now our bird looks kind of like a dead bird that's flying, if there is such a thing. And in order to fix that, there's just under that if on edge bounce block is a block called set rotation style left or right. So instead of flipping up and down, it's going to flip left to right. And I think that will fix our dead bird flying problem. There we go. So that's how we can add a little bit of animation as well. So again, we can use this as a storytelling tool to tell lots of different stories and make it work in a bunch of different ways. You don't necessarily need the broadcasts, but it's a nice way to communicate to a whole bunch of sprites at the same time if you're having trouble making